Elon Musk isn't a superhero, and that's the point. Have you ever looked at someone like Elon Musk and thought, this guy must be a genius? A different species. I could never be like that. Let me stop you right there. Because here's the truth, Elon Musk is not a superhero. He wasn't born with superpowers, and he definitely didn't grow up rich and famous. In fact, he was a quiet, skinny kid from South Africa who got bullied so badly in school that he was once thrown down the stairs and had to go to the hospital. He spent most of his time alone, reading science fiction, playing video games, and diving deep into books, not hanging out with cool friends or being the popular kid. And yet, the same guy grew up to build rockets, electric cars, brain interfaces, and became one of the richest people on the planet. So what happened? What changed? It wasn't luck. It wasn't a secret cheat code. It was the way he thought. The way he asked questions. The way he believed that even the craziest dreams are possible if you start acting on them. That's what this video is about. Not about worshipping Elon Musk, but about learning something from him, something that you and I can actually apply in our lives. Because if someone who got rejected, laughed at, and nearly lost everything more than once can go on to change the world, then maybe, just maybe, you can change your own life too. Early failures, getting rejected, laughed at. He left South Africa alone with barely any money and moved to Canada. He worked odd jobs like shoveling dirt, cleaning out boiler rooms, and even working on a farm just to survive. He was just trying to get by, like a lot of us. Years later, with his brother Kimball, he started his first company, Zip2. They literally slept on beanbags in the office. Couldn't afford rent. Showered at the local YMCA. Worked day and night to make something out of nothing. And when Zip2 finally got big enough to be noticed, Elon got pushed aside. He was removed as CEO of his own company. But he didn't stop. He used that money to start another company called X.com, one of the first online banks in the world. You know it today as PayPal. Guess what? He got kicked out again. While on his honeymoon, the board voted him out and replaced him. Imagine that. Twice he built something, and twice they took it from him. He could have given up. He could have said, maybe I'm not meant to lead. He could have played it safe, invested his money, and lived a quiet life. But Elon didn't stop there. He didn't just invest a little, he went all in. At one point, both companies were about to die. Tesla couldn't build cars fast enough. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches in a row. And Elon? He was sleeping on a couch in Tesla's office. No house. No vacations. Just problems, pressure, and debt. He once said, I thought I was going to die. Literally. It was the worst year of my life. But guess what? He kept going. One more try. One more launch. One more fight. And on Christmas Eve, 2008, SpaceX finally succeeded. They launched a rocket into orbit, and NASA called. That phone call saved SpaceX from dying. Speech balloon. You see, people only see Elon Musk now, the billionaire. But they don't see the guy who got rejected by Netscape, who was laughed at by investors, who slept in a warehouse to build a dream. And that's the point. You don't need a perfect background. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to keep going when others stop. Because everyone starts somewhere. And so can you. The mindset shift, first principles thinking. So, what made Elon different? It wasn't luck. It wasn't connections. And it definitely wasn't playing it safe. It was his mindset. His way of thinking. Elon Musk doesn't just follow trends or copy what others are doing. He breaks problems down to their core and rebuilds from the ground up. It's called first principles thinking. Sounds fancy, but it's actually very simple. Instead of asking, What's everyone else doing? He asks. What are the facts? What are the most basic truths about this problem? If I had to start from scratch, what would I do? Let's look at a real example. When Elon wanted to build electric cars, everyone told him, it's too expensive. The batteries cost too much. Most people accepted that. They gave up. But Elon didn't. He said, wait, what is a battery actually made of? So he broke it down. Lithium, nickel, cobalt, aluminum. Then he looked up the raw prices of those materials. And guess what? They were actually not that expensive. The high cost of batteries was just how people were doing it, not what it actually cost. So Elon built Tesla, rethought the battery design, and made it cheaper from the inside out. That's first principles thinking. And this wasn't a one-time thing. He used the same thinking when building SpaceX. At the time, buying a rocket from another company would cost over $60 million. But instead of buying one, Elon asked, what is a rocket made of? Answer? Aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. Few things you can buy for way less. So he built the rockets himself. Literally. From scratch. And brought the cost down by 10x. Why does this matter to you? Because you can use this thinking in your own life. Maybe not to build a rocket, but to build your path forward. Instead of thinking, everyone says it's hard to get rich. It takes luck. I need connections. Ask yourself, what are the real building blocks of success? What skills can I build for free? What's really holding me back and what's just an excuse? This mindset frees you. It gives you power. You stop being a follower. And you start becoming a builder. Here's a challenge for today. Think of a problem in your life. Now ask, what's the real issue underneath? If I forgot how everyone else solves it, what would I do? That's how Elon Musk thinks. And that's how you can start thinking like a hero in the making. Crazy goals, but real action. Let's be honest. Some of Elon Musk's goals sound absolutely crazy. Colonize Mars. Eliminate fossil fuel cars. Connect the human brain to AI. Build a tunnel system under cities. Launch satellites to beam internet everywhere on Earth. If anyone else said this, you'd probably roll your eyes. But Elon? He doesn't just say it. He starts building it. That's the difference. You can have the craziest dream in the world. But if you don't act on it, it's just a fantasy. Let's break it down. Going to Mars, SpaceX. When Elon started SpaceX, people laughed. They said, only governments launch rockets. You're going to die trying. You're not a rocket scientist. And they were right, he wasn't. He read books. Talked to engineers. Taught himself everything. The first 3 rocket launches failed. His money? Gone. His company? Almost dead. But he didn't stop. The 4th launch worked. And suddenly, NASA picked up the phone. Today, SpaceX launches more rockets than anyone else on Earth and is building the system to send people to Mars. Insane? Maybe. But not impossible. Replacing gas cars, Tesla. Back in the early 2000s, electric cars were a joke. Slow, ugly, expensive. No one wanted them. Elon wanted to build a fast, cool, all-electric car. People said, it's impossible. You'll go bankrupt. No one wants that. But Elon went all in. Redesigned the battery. Rebuilt the supply chain. Rethought how a car should feel and drive. Today, Tesla isn't just an electric car company. It's the most valuable car company in the world. Merging brain and AI, Neuralink. This one sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. But Elon believes the future of humanity depends on how we merge with technology. So he started Neuralink, a company building brain-computer interfaces. They've already tested the chip on animals. And in 2024, it's entering human trials. Not for fun, but to help people with paralysis move again. And eventually, to let us communicate directly with machines. Sounds crazy. But it's real. So what's the point? Elon doesn't wait until everything is perfect. He doesn't need permission. He just starts. He sets giant goals and then asks, what's the first small step I can take today? That's what makes him powerful. Not just the big dreams, but the ability to act on them. What can you learn from this? You don't need to build rockets. You don't need to change the world overnight. But you can start by dreaming a little bigger, taking action a little faster, being a little braver than yesterday. Because the only difference between a crazy idea and a world-changing idea is what you do next. How Elon learns: fast, deep, ruthless. Elon Musk never went to rocket school. He didn't major in aerospace. He wasn't an engineer by degree. So how did he build the most advanced rockets in the world? Simple. He taught himself. When Elon wanted to understand rockets, he read textbooks, not blog posts. When he wanted to build electric cars, he studied battery chemistry and supply chains. When he wanted to create brain chips, he dug into neuroscience papers. He didn't say, I'll hire someone to know this for me. He said, I'll know enough to ask the right questions. What does this mean? Elon has what experts call a learning transfer mindset. That means he doesn't just learn facts, he learns patterns, models, and core ideas from one field and applies them in others. I think most people can learn a lot more than they think they can. They just sell themselves short. Here's how he learns, and how you can too. 1. Read like a builder. Elon reads to create, not just consume. He once read 2 books a day as a child. Now he reads to solve real problems. Tip: don't just highlight quotes. Ask, how can I use this tomorrow? 2. Deconstruct skills. When Elon learns something, he breaks it down like a machine. What are the parts? How do they work together? Which parts are weak? Then he rebuilds from the ground up better. Example. He didn't just study rockets. He studied fuel flow, thermal resistance, stage separation, and more. You don't need to be Elon. But you can ask, what's the structure of what I'm trying to learn? 3. Use learning loops. Elon asks, tests, fails, and repeats. He builds feedback loops into his learning. Learn. Try. Fail. Learn again. That's why he improves faster than most people. Why does this matter to you? Because most people wait until they feel ready. Until they have a degree. Until they get permission. But Elon's approach is: learn what you need. Apply it now. Fix it as you go. It's not about being perfect. It's about moving forward while learning. Quick tip for your own growth. Pick one thing you've been wanting to learn, maybe copywriting, coding, AI, finance. He doesn't just accept what he's told. He questions everything. I think it's important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. In other words, don't copy. Don't assume. Ask, what's really true? Let's look at how Elon uses questions. When others say, that's how it's always been done, Elon says, why? When experts say, that's not possible, Elon asks, what would have to be true for it to be possible? When a supplier tells him a part costs $10,000, he asks, what is it made of? What does it actually cost to build? By asking better questions, Elon unlocks answers other people can't even see. Real example, Starship rocket. Most rockets are built to launch once and crash into the ocean. Billions of dollars gone after one use. Elon asked, why can't we reuse rockets like airplanes? People laughed. But today, SpaceX rockets land themselves, get reused, and save hundreds of millions. All because he dared to ask a better question. Another example, building a factory. When Tesla was behind on production, engineers tried to add more people. Elon walked in and asked, what if we just removed that entire step? Why do we even need this machine? Turns out they didn't. That one question saved time, money, and space. So how do you apply this? Start replacing statements with questions. Instead of, I'm not good at this, ask, what part of this don't I understand yet? Instead of, this is too expensive, ask, what is this actually made of? Can I do it cheaper? Instead of, I'll never be like them, ask, what habits or thinking got them there, and can I try one today? Quick habit. The YX5 rule. Whenever you feel stuck, ask why 5 times. Example. I feel lazy. Why? Because I'm tired. Why? I didn't sleep well. Why? I stayed up watching Netflix. Why? I was avoiding work. Why? I'm scared of failing. See? Now you know the real issue. Final thought. Most people live on autopilot. Elon doesn't. He questions everything, including himself. You don't need to build rockets. But if you can learn to ask just one better question every day, you'll be miles ahead of most people. That's Musk's real secret weapon. And it can be your superpower too. How you can apply this mindset. By now, you've heard the stories, the failures, the first principles, the crazy goals, the relentless learning, the powerful questions. But this isn't about Elon Musk anymore. It's about you. Because if you're watching this, chances are you've got goals, you've got ideas, and maybe you feel stuck. Not because you're not smart, not because you're not capable, but because you don't know where to start. Let's fix that with action. Here's a simple framework you can use today, inspired by Elon's way of thinking. Step 1. Define your crazy dream. What's something you want but are afraid to say out loud? Start a business? Become financially free? Build something new? Leave your current job? Write it down. Make it clear. Own it. Elon didn't whisper, maybe I want to try building a small rocket. He said, I want to send people to Mars. Step 2. Break it down like an engineer. Now take that big goal and ask, what are the building blocks? What do I actually need? What's the first small step I could take? Want to build an app? Start by sketching it on paper. Want to start a YouTube channel? Record something today on your phone. Want to change careers? Learn one new skill this week. You don't need to build everything at once. You just need to start. Step 3. Learn like Elon. Don't wait for a course. Don't wait for someone to teach you. Google it. YouTube it. Read it. Try it. Example: Elon learned rocket science by reading textbooks and asking engineers questions. You can learn anything. Literally. Anything. All it takes is the will to start. Step 4. Ask yourself better questions. Replace fear with curiosity. Instead of saying, "I'll never figure this out," ask, "What don't I understand yet and where can I go learn it?" Instead of, "This is impossible," ask, "Has anyone done something similar? What did they try?" That's how Elon finds opportunities others miss. And so can you. Step 5. Take small, consistent action. Elon didn't build Tesla in a weekend. He just kept showing up even when things sucked. You don't need massive moves. You need movement. 10 minutes a day learning a skill. One decision a day that makes you uncomfortable. One question a day that challenges how you think. That's how transformation happens. Final reminder. You don't have to be Elon Musk. But you can think a little deeper. Ask a little better. Learn a little faster. And act a little bolder. That's how you go from stuck to unstoppable. You're not Elon, and that's the point. Let's be clear. You're not Elon Musk. And you don't have to be. You weren't born in South Africa. You didn't build PayPal. You're not sending rockets into space. But here's the truth. Elon Musk started with nothing that you don't have the ability to build. He had curiosity, courage to try, discipline to keep going, the belief that thinking differently was worth it. And guess what? You have all of that inside you too. Maybe your dream isn't Mars. Maybe it's to get out of debt. Maybe it's to start a business, help your family, or finally believe in yourself again. Whatever it is, that dream matters. And if there's one thing Elon Musk shows us, it's this. You don't have to be perfect to make progress. He failed. He got laughed at. He made massive mistakes. But he never gave up. He kept learning. Kept questioning. Kept building. So can you. Here's your challenge. Before today ends, take one step. Small, simple, but real. Write your crazy dream down. Ask yourself, what's the first 5-minute action I can take? And then, actually do it. Because your life doesn't change all at once. It changes with one brave decision at a time. Final words. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be fearless. You don't even need to know how yet. You just need to start. If this video inspired you, here's what I ask. Like the video. Share it with one person who needs to hear it. And subscribe so we can grow together on this journey from human to hero. This isn't about Elon Musk anymore. This is about you. And your story is just getting started. Jeff was a curious kid, not a business genius. When people hear the name Jeff Bezos today, they picture a billionaire. The founder of Amazon. The man who went to space. One of the richest people in human history. But Jeff didn't start rich. He didn't start powerful. And he definitely wasn't born a business genius. Jeff was a curious kid. That's it. He asked a lot of questions. He broke things just to see how they worked. He was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in 1964. His mom was a teenager when she had him. His biological father left early. Later, he was adopted by his stepfather, Miguel Bezos, a Cuban immigrant. As a toddler, Jeff took apart his own crib with a screwdriver. He was 3 years old. In school, he was quiet but focused. He spent summers at his grandparents' ranch in Texas. There, he helped fix windmills, castrate cattle, and learned how to solve problems with his hands. But what really set him apart? He loved learning. By the time he was in high school, he was building gadgets in his garage. He created an alarm system to keep his siblings out of his room. He set up a science lab in the corner of the house. He read nonstop, especially science fiction and business books. Jeff wasn't the smartest kid in the class. But he was the most curious. And that curiosity, over time, turned into obsession. An obsession with how the world works, with how systems can be built, with how ideas become reality. That's the real origin story. Not a genius. Just a kid who couldn't stop learning. You don't need to be gifted to start. You just need to be curious enough not to stop. From Wall Street to garage startup. After college, Jeff had what many would call a perfect life. He graduated from Princeton with a degree in computer science and electrical engineering. He was smart, well-educated, and full of career options. He landed a high-paying job at a financial firm called D. Shaw, one of the most respected on Wall Street. He rose quickly. By age 30, he was a senior vice president. Everyone around him thought he was on the fast track to becoming a millionaire through finance. But Jeff felt something pulling him in another direction. In 1994, he read a statistic that changed everything. Internet usage was growing by 2,300% per year. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He kept asking himself, what kind of business could take advantage of that explosion? He made a list of ideas. Online store for books was at the top. Back then, the idea of buying things online sounded ridiculous to most people. But Jeff saw something others didn't. He went to his boss and explained the idea. His boss told him it was interesting, but that Jeff had a great job. Why risk it? That's when Jeff created what he later called his regret minimization framework. He asked himself a simple question. When I'm 80 years old, will I regret not trying this? The answer was yes. So he quit. He told his parents. They were confused, but supportive. They gave him part of their savings to get started. He packed up his car, left Wall Street behind, and drove across the country to Seattle. Along the way, he typed his business plan on a laptop in the passenger seat while his wife drove. When he arrived in Seattle, he set up his company in the garage of a rented house. The name? Amazon. At first, it was just a website that sold books. He built the website himself. He shipped packages himself. He did customer service himself. It wasn't glamorous. But it was real. And it was the beginning of something massive. All because he asked, what will I regret more, failing or never trying? You don't need to be certain to take a leap. You just need to care enough not to let the idea die. Obsession with the customer. From the very beginning, Jeff Bezos made one thing clear. Amazon would not be competitor obsessed. It would be customer obsessed. That meant, don't follow what other companies are doing. Follow what your customers want before they even know they want it. He read customer reviews personally. He answered complaint emails. He paid attention to every small detail that affected the user experience. When people told him to focus on quarterly profits, he said no. He focused on long-term customer trust. He once said, if we can keep our competitors focused on us, while we stay focused on the customer, we'll turn out all right. And he was right. While other companies chased trends, Amazon was building loyalty. While others were raising prices, Amazon was lowering them. While others slowed down, Amazon sped up delivery. Even the company's early slogan was simple. Earth's most customer-centric company. This obsession shaped every major decision Amazon made. When they launched user reviews, people thought they were crazy. Why let customers post negative opinions? Jeff said, if a customer makes a bad purchase, even from us, we lose trust. I'd rather they find the right product even if it means not buying today. That kind of thinking didn't just help the customer. It helped Amazon build something more powerful than sales. It built trust. And trust is what creates billion-dollar brands. Every time they expanded into music, into video, into cloud computing, the question wasn't, how much money can we make? It was, How can we make life easier, faster, better for the customer? Even when it cost more in the short term, they chose the long term. Customer obsession wasn't a marketing line. It was the core strategy. And it worked. Because when you obsess over delivering real value, people notice. And they come back. Thinking long term, always. If there's one mindset that defines Jeff Bezos more than any other, it's this. Think long term. From the beginning, he told investors, employees, and partners the same thing. Amazon will not optimize for short-term profits. It will optimize for long-term value. For years, Amazon lost money. Quarter after quarter, people doubted the model. Analysts said the business made no sense. Bezos didn't care. He reinvested almost every dollar of profit back into growth. He expanded warehouses. He improved delivery speed. He poured money into new categories, better customer service, and better tech. Why? Because he believed that long-term thinking beats short-term wins. He called it planting seeds that take years to grow, but yield massive returns. In his annual letters to shareholders, he wrote, "We believe that a fundamental measure of our success will be the shareholder value we create over the long term." One of his most famous principles? It's always day one. He reminded everyone, no matter how big Amazon became, to act like a startup. To stay hungry. To keep experimenting. To avoid becoming slow, safe, and bureaucratic. Day one means urgency. It means risk. It means boldness. And it's the reason Amazon kept evolving from books to everything. From online store to cloud powerhouse. From e-commerce to AI to logistics to content. Because Bezos wasn't playing a one-year game. He was playing a 20-year game. When people asked him how he made decisions, he said, "I focus on what won't change. Customers will always want lower prices. Faster delivery. More choice." So Amazon kept betting on those over and over. And the results speak for themselves. Amazon became one of the most valuable companies in the world. Not by chasing quick wins, but by making small bets, consistently, with patience and discipline. You don't need to be a billionaire to think long term. You just need to be brave enough to look beyond today. Big bets, bold moves. Jeff Bezos didn't get rich by playing it safe. He got rich by making big bets. Calculated, yes. But bold. And what made him different was this. When he saw a new opportunity, even if it seemed risky or outside Amazon's core business, he acted. Not slowly. Not cautiously. He moved. One of the first big bets? Kindle. At the time, Amazon was the biggest seller of physical books in the world. But Bezos saw the future of reading would be digital. So instead of protecting what he had, he disrupted it. He told his team, "Your job is to kill your own business before someone else does." They built the Kindle, a digital reading device, and launched it fast. Bookstores didn't see it coming. And readers loved it. Amazon didn't just sell ebooks. It created the ebook industry. Another big move? AWS, Amazon Web Services. A cloud computing platform. It had nothing to do with books or retail. But Bezos noticed that building online infrastructure, servers, databases, storage was painful and slow for startups. So Amazon built a system to make it easy. At first, people ignored it. Then, it quietly became one of the most profitable businesses in the world. Today, AWS powers companies like Netflix, Airbnb, and even the US government. All because Jeff saw a need. And acted. Another big bet? Buying Whole Foods. Everyone thought Amazon was just an online company. But Bezos saw that real-world logistics, food, groceries, delivery would be key to the next wave of commerce. So he bought a massive grocery chain. And once again, changed an industry. Then there's Blue Origin, Jeff's personal space company. Not because it would make money quickly, but because it matched his long-term mission: to expand humanity's future beyond Earth. He once said, "I want to lower the cost of access to space so future generations can build the future." It wasn't just business. It was vision. That's the pattern. Jeff bets on what he believes in. He acts before others do. And he's willing to look wrong for a long time in order to be right in the end. That's what boldness looks like. And that's how fortunes are built. Not by avoiding risk, but by embracing the right ones. Bezos's 3 big principles. Every great builder operates by a set of principles. For Jeff Bezos, there are 3 that guide nearly everything he does. They aren't complicated, but they are powerful. And they explain why Amazon is what it is. Principle 1: customer obsession. Not customer service. Not customer satisfaction. Customer obsession. It means never being satisfied. Never assuming you've done enough. Always looking for ways to serve better. Bezos said, "We see our customers as invited guests to a party. And we are the hosts." That mindset shaped every Amazon decision. Make it faster. Make it cheaper. Make it easier. Not because it looks good on a slogan, but because it builds trust. And trust is the foundation of long-term success. Principle 2: long-term thinking. Bezos doesn't care about quarterly profits. He cares about compounding results over decades. He reinvests. He delays gratification. He thinks in decades, not days. That's why Amazon took years to become profitable. And why it outlasted competitors who focused only on short-term wins. His advice? If everything you do needs to work on a 3-year time horizon, then you're competing against a lot of people. But if you're willing to invest on a 7-year horizon, you're now competing against a fraction. Long-term thinkers win because they can wait for better opportunities. Principle 3: embrace failure. Jeff says Amazon is the best place in the world to fail. Why? Because failure is the cost of innovation. If you're not failing, you're not inventing. If you're not inventing, you're falling behind. Amazon tried and failed at many things. The Fire Phone, auctions, destinations, Amazon restaurants. But none of those failures stopped them from moving forward. Because they learned from each one. Bezos said, "You have to be willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. Innovation means risk. And risk means failure. But if you keep learning, keep testing, and stay focused, failure becomes a stepping stone." These 3 principles aren't just business ideas. They're life strategies. Obsess over value. Think long-term. Don't fear failure. You don't need a giant company to use them. You can apply them to your next decision, your next project, your next leap. That's how you move forward, one principle at a time. How Bezos thinks differently. Jeff Bezos doesn't make decisions like most people. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't try to please everyone. He doesn't ask, "What do people expect?" He asks, "What will I regret not doing?" That's how he created what he calls the regret minimization framework. It's simple. He imagines himself at 80 years old, looking back on his life. Then he asks, "Will I regret doing this? Or will I regret not doing it?" That's how he decided to leave a safe Wall Street job and start Amazon. It wasn't about success or failure. It was about avoiding regret. That kind of thinking changes everything. It removes fear. It removes doubt. It replaces pressure with purpose. Another key to Bezos's thinking? He doesn't try to be right all the time. He just tries to be less wrong over time. He believes in data, in testing, in experimentation. He once said, "If you double the number of experiments you do per year, you're going to double your inventiveness." That's why Amazon constantly runs A/B tests, launches new features, and learns from failure. Bezos thinks like a scientist, not a salesman. He also believes in making quick, reversible decisions when the cost of being wrong is low. He calls these type 2 decisions ones that can be undone if they go badly. Most people spend too much time overthinking decisions that don't matter much. Bezos says, "Speed matters in business. Many decisions are reversible and do not need extensive study. It's better to act fast, learn fast, and adjust than to freeze and miss the opportunity." So what does this mean for you? It means you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to think in decades. Minimize regret. Experiment often. And make bold moves when the downside is small. That's how Bezos thinks differently. And that's how you can start thinking differently too. How you can think like Bezos. You're not Jeff Bezos. But you don't need to be. You don't need billions of dollars. You don't need a company the size of Amazon. You just need to adopt the mindset that built it. Because Bezos didn't start rich. He started curious. He started scared. But he started. So how can you think like him, starting today? Step 1. Start with the customer. Whatever you're building, a product, a brand, a service, ask yourself, what problem am I solving? What would make this experience 10x better for the user? What do customers complain about and how can I fix it? Obsess over value, not profit. Step 2. Think in decades, act today. Don't chase quick wins. Plant long-term seeds. Build skills that will compound. Build relationships that last. Build habits that make you stronger 5 years from now. Ask, what will matter most in 10 years and what can I do about it today? Step 3. Use the regret test. Every time you face a hard decision, ask, when I'm 80, will I regret not doing this? That one question can change your direction. It did for Bezos. Step 4. Take smart risks. You don't need to bet everything. But you do need to bet something. Launch that small idea. Share that first post. Test that new product. Most of the things we fear aren't permanent. If it doesn't work, adjust. If it works, you grow. Step 5. Keep learning and experimenting. Don't wait to know everything. Learn while doing. Test while building. Bezos reads constantly. He listens. He learns. So should you. Step 6. Stay in day 1. Don't act like you've made it. Act like you're just getting started. Every day is day 1. A day to build. A day to learn. A day to begin again. That's what keeps your edge sharp. That's what keeps your ideas alive. Final thought. Jeff Bezos built Amazon. But more importantly, he built a mindset. A mindset of curiosity, courage, and long-term conviction. You can build the same mindset. You can take bold steps. You can shape your own empire. It won't happen overnight. But if you start thinking differently, starting today, you'll be ahead of 99% of people. And that's where every legend begins. Larry Ellison is not a superhero. Abandoned, sick, and raised by strangers. Larry Ellison wasn't born into wealth, or even stability. He was born into rejection. In 1944, he came into the world in the Bronx, New York City. His mother was just 19 years old, unmarried, overwhelmed, and alone. His biological father was a pilot who left as soon as he knew she was pregnant. Larry never knew him. At just 9 months old, Larry developed a severe case of pneumonia. His mother, desperate and scared, made a life-altering decision. She handed her infant son to her aunt and uncle in Chicago. Larry would not see his birth mother again for nearly 5 decades. He was raised by his Aunt Lillian, kind, protective, and emotionally supportive. But his adoptive father, Louis Ellison, was the opposite. He was cold, distant, and emotionally harsh. He worked as a government clerk, never earned much, and lost what little he had in bad investments. He told Larry, over and over, "You'll never amount to anything. You're a loser. You're wasting your time." Larry remembered those words. He didn't forget them. He didn't forgive them. But he used them. In school, Larry was intelligent but restless. He had no interest in following rules. No patience for subjects that didn't spark his curiosity. He challenged authority. He pushed boundaries. But behind the rebellion was a boy with something to prove. A boy who had been given away. A boy who was told he was nothing. A boy who decided, one day, they'll all be wrong. Larry didn't have a perfect family. He didn't have money. He didn't even have encouragement. But he had defiance. He had fire. And that would be enough to get started. A young rebel with no direction. As Larry grew older, his defiance didn't fade. It deepened. He wasn't the kind of student teachers praised. He was smart, incredibly smart, but uninterested. He couldn't stand rigid rules or meaningless tasks. He enrolled at the University of Illinois. He was good at math, science, and logic. But in his sophomore year, his adoptive mother, the only person who truly believed in him, died. It broke him. He dropped out. He tried again at the University of Chicago. Lasted 1 semester. Dropped out again. Most people would have given up. But Larry wasn't most people. He moved to Berkeley, California. Lived in a cheap apartment. Did odd jobs. He worked as a technician. A delivery guy. A construction worker. He had no degree. No plan. No connections. But he had curiosity. Larry taught himself computer programming not in school, but from manuals, from trial and error. From watching smarter people work. He read technical books like other people read novels. And he started to see something. Companies didn't need people with degrees. They needed people who could solve problems. So he did. He learned databases. He learned systems. He became the go-to guy for hard problems. But inside, something was still boiling. He wasn't content just being a good employee. He wanted more. He wanted control. He wanted to build something of his own. Because deep down, he was still that boy from Chicago. The one who had been told he'd never amount to anything. And every line of code, every new system, every late night was another way to prove that voice wrong. Learning by doing, not in school. Larry Ellison wasn't built by college. He was built by work. Real work. Hard work. Work that didn't come with applause or titles, but with skills. Throughout his 20s, he bounced between tech jobs. Not prestigious roles. But ones where he could observe, learn, and build. He worked at places like Ambil Corporation and Ampex. At Ampex, he worked on a project for the CIA. The project was called Oracle. It was a system designed to manage data, massive amounts of data, for intelligence agencies. Larry wasn't the architect. He didn't invent databases. But he saw something. The software was complex. Outdated. Expensive. What if he could make it simpler? Faster? Better? The idea stuck in his mind. At night, he would sketch out models. During the day, he watched what didn't work. He wasn't just coding anymore, he was thinking like a strategist. By his mid-30s, he had built a reputation. He was the programmer you called when something was broken. He didn't always follow protocol. But he delivered results. Still, he was frustrated. He worked for people less capable than him. He followed decisions he didn't respect. He hated bureaucracy. He hated being told no. And so, he made a choice. He would stop working for others. He would start something of his own. Even if no one believed in him. Even if he had to build it from scratch. Because he knew something most people didn't. You don't need permission to change the game. You just need the nerve to play it your way. Starting Oracle, with no investors, no trust. In 1977, Larry Ellison was 33 years old. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. And he wasn't backed by investors. But he had an idea. A bold one. He wanted to build a database software company, simple, scalable, and based on a language called SQL. Which most companies hadn't even adopted yet. He partnered with two colleagues, Bob Miner and Ed Oates. Together, they formed a company called Software Development Laboratories. They didn't start in a glass office tower. They worked out of borrowed space. They paid themselves almost nothing. They lived cheap and worked non-stop. No one trusted them. No one funded them. They were outsiders. But Larry didn't care. He renamed the company Oracle, a nod to the CIA project he once worked on. They pitched the software to the government, to companies. Most said no. Some laughed. But a few said yes. Their first real contract was tiny. Just a few $1,000s. But it was enough to keep going. Larry didn't have charm. He had intensity. He didn't make excuses. He made demands. He wrote code. He did sales. He handled marketing. He created technical documentation himself because no one else would. He knew the product wasn't perfect. But it was better than the rest. And he believed that speed, not perfection, would win the race. Oracle began to grow. Not smoothly. Not quickly. But steadily. And through every pitch, every line of code, every rejection, Larry was building something more powerful than software. He was building belief. In himself. In his vision. In a world where he could prove them all wrong. Risk, crisis, and the edge of collapse. Success brings momentum. But it also brings danger. By the mid-1980s, Oracle was growing fast. Too fast. Larry pushed for aggressive expansion. He believed in speed over safety. In taking markets before competitors could catch up. Revenue soared. Headcount tripled. Oracle opened offices in dozens of cities. But behind the scenes, something was breaking. In an effort to show growth, Oracle began recognizing revenue before contracts were signed. Salespeople pushed deals to close faster. Accounting blurred the lines. It worked for a while. Then reality hit. In 1990, Oracle missed earnings. Badly. Investors panicked. The stock price crashed. The company lost almost half its value overnight. Worse, it was discovered that Oracle had overstated earnings by tens of millions. The company was under investigation. Shareholders filed lawsuits. Cash was running out. Larry Ellison was called reckless. Arrogant. Some said Oracle was finished. But he didn't run. He didn't hide. He faced it. He brought in a new CFO. He fired dozens of top managers. He cut staff. He restructured the entire company. He admitted the mistakes. He took the blame. And then, he rebuilt. It wasn't just a financial crisis. It was a personal turning point. Larry learned what most entrepreneurs learn too late. Growth means nothing without control. Speed is dangerous without discipline. Winning is easy, surviving is the real game. Oracle barely made it. But it did. And from that near-death experience, it came back stronger. Because sometimes, the edge of collapse is the beginning of clarity. Obsession, control, and the rise of Oracle. After surviving near collapse, Larry Ellison changed. Not who he was, but how he led. He became sharper, more disciplined, more demanding. He rebuilt Oracle with a new mindset. Control everything. Master the details. Never let chaos sneak back in. Larry reviewed product demos personally. He grilled engineers in meetings. He made executives defend every dollar they spent. He didn't delegate trust. He earned it and expected others to do the same. This obsession turned Oracle into a machine. While others focused on flashy products, Oracle focused on enterprise clients, governments, banks, corporations. They didn't want trendy software. They wanted systems that worked. Fast, reliable, scalable databases. Oracle delivered. The company developed the first relational database to run on multiple platforms. It became the backbone of global business infrastructure. Larry positioned Oracle not as a product company, but as a mission-critical partner. When IBM became the main rival, Larry didn't flinch. He launched bold ad campaigns. "We will bury IBM. Oracle is the database standard." He backed those words with results. Oracle gained market share year after year. Its software powered airlines, hospitals, militaries. Its reach was global. Its influence undeniable. By the late 1990s, Oracle was one of the most powerful software companies in the world. And Larry Ellison was no longer an outsider. He was a billionaire. A boardroom warrior. A symbol of relentless ambition. But he hadn't changed inside. He was still the kid from Chicago. Still fighting to prove himself. Still refusing to be told what he couldn't do. His obsession wasn't with money. It was with control. Precision. Dominance. And that mindset, no matter how controversial, built an empire. The billionaire pirate, lifestyle and mindset. Larry Ellison didn't just build a software empire. He built a legend. He became known not just for Oracle, but for how he lived. He bought a $100 million yacht. A fighter jet. Several private jets. A Hawaiian island. He dressed like a rock star. Wore leather jackets. Drove fast cars. Dated models and celebrities. To the media, he was a billionaire playboy. Flashy. Arrogant. Untouchable. But behind the flash, there was something deeper. Larry worked 12 to 14 hours a day. He read every major product report. He grilled every VP. He challenged engineers on architecture and performance. Even at the top, he remained hands-on. His wealth didn't make him lazy. It made him more intense. He believed that success was war. That business was combat. That only the strong, the relentless, survived. He said, "You have to act and act now. Oracle does not wait for anyone." And Oracle kept winning. Even as Microsoft rose. Even as Google and Amazon dominated consumer tech. Oracle thrived by owning the backend, the databases, the servers, the enterprise cloud. Larry didn't care if his name wasn't in every household. He cared that his software ran their banks, their governments, their infrastructure. His mindset was clear. Think big. Move fast. Never surrender. Don't apologize for wanting to win. Some called him ruthless. Some called him a genius. He didn't care what they called him as long as they couldn't ignore him. Because Larry Ellison wasn't just rich. He was relevant. And that, to him, mattered more. How you can think like Larry Ellison. You may never own an island. You may never fly a fighter jet. But you can learn to think like Larry Ellison. And that thinking can change everything. Here's how. 1. Use doubt as fuel. Larry Ellison grew up hearing, "You'll never succeed." Instead of letting it crush him, he used it. He turned every insult into energy. Every rejection into resolve. So when people doubt you, don't shrink. Fuel up. Let it drive you, not define you. 2. Learn by doing. He didn't finish college. But he became one of the greatest technical minds in enterprise software. He learned on the job. By reading manuals. By solving real problems. By making real mistakes. You don't need a perfect resume. You need persistence, curiosity, and action. 3. Don't wait for permission. Larry didn't wait for a company to hire him to build something. He didn't wait for investors to believe in him. He started. With nothing. You don't need someone to say yes. You just need to say it to yourself. 4. Obsess over the product. He didn't just lead Oracle, he lived inside it. He knew the code. The customers. The competitors. That kind of obsession isn't extra. It's essential. Be the one who knows your craft better than anyone else. 5. Take risks, own the results. He expanded too fast. Made accounting mistakes. Almost lost everything. But he owned it. Fixed it. Learned from it. Success isn't avoiding risk. It's recovering stronger. 6. Lead with fire. Ellison didn't become a billionaire by playing it safe. He was bold. Brash. Unapologetically competitive. If you want to stand out, don't aim to fit in. Stand firm. Speak up. Move forward. Final thought. Larry Ellison wasn't the smartest. Or the richest. Or the most supported. But he was the one who didn't quit. Didn't wait. Didn't settle. He came from nothing. And he built one of the most powerful software empires on Earth. So can you. Start with what you have. Ignore the noise. Build with focus. And never, ever back down. And Larry Ellison is not a superhero. Steve Jobs wasn't born lucky. Steve Jobs wasn't born rich. He wasn't born into Silicon Valley. And he didn't come from a perfect family. He was born in 1955 in San Francisco. His mother was a college student. His father was a Syrian immigrant. They weren't married. They gave him up for adoption. Steve was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, a modest working-class couple. His father was a mechanic. His mother was a bookkeeper. They lived in a small house in Mountain View, California. No wealth. No tech empire. Just an average home with average struggles. But Steve wasn't average. As a child, he was curious. He would take things apart, just to see how they worked. He spent hours in his father's garage, learning to build and repair electronics. His father taught him how to work with his hands. More importantly, he taught him to care about craftsmanship. Even the parts people can't see, he said, should be beautiful. That lesson stuck. In school, Steve was smart but difficult. He got bored easily. He challenged teachers. He played pranks. One time, he got suspended for putting explosives under a teacher's chair. He wasn't disciplined. He wasn't obedient. But he was sharp. Restless. Driven. As he grew older, Steve began to explore things most kids didn't. He read about Zen Buddhism. He experimented with diets, fasting, and alternative lifestyles. He walked barefoot on campus. He dropped out of college after just one semester. He had no money. He slept on the floors of friends' dorm rooms. He returned Coke bottles for a few cents to buy food. Every Sunday, he walked across town to the Hare Krishna temple for a free meal. He wasn't chasing wealth. He was chasing something deeper. He wanted to understand life. He wanted to see differently. He wanted to build things that mattered. And even when he had nothing, he never stopped dreaming big. A curious mind with a rebel heart. Steve Jobs was never just a student. He was a questioner. A wanderer. A rebel with too much curiosity. At Homestead High School, he met Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was a shy genius and engineering wizard. Jobs was not an engineer. But he understood people. He saw how technology could change lives. They bonded over pranks and passion. They built blue boxes, illegal devices that let people make free long-distance phone calls. Jobs didn't invent the tech. But he saw how to package it. How to sell it. That pattern would define him for life. After dropping out of college, Jobs stayed on campus. He took only the classes that interested him. Calligraphy. Philosophy. Design. Years later, he would say, "If I had never dropped in on that calligraphy class, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts." He followed his curiosity, not a career path. He believed life was not a straight line. It was about connecting dots looking backward. At 20, Jobs took a spiritual trip to India. He shaved his head. He wore robes. He sought enlightenment. But more than anything, he learned to see the world differently. Simplicity. Clarity. Focus. When he returned, he wasn't interested in climbing a corporate ladder. He wanted to build something from nothing. And he wasn't afraid to break rules to do it. Steve Jobs believed in intuition. In instinct. In walking your own path even when no one else understands. He once said, "Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice." That voice led him to his next big decision. To start a company. With no office. No team. No plan. Just a garage, a friend. And an idea. From garage to global, the start of Apple. It began in a small garage in Los Altos, California. The year was 1976. Steve Jobs was 21. Steve Wozniak was 26. They had no money. No business plan. No employees. Just one shared belief. Computers should be for everyone, not just corporations or scientists. Wozniak had built a personal computer, the Apple one. Jobs saw its potential. He convinced Wozniak to sell it. He talked a local electronics store into buying 50 units. Then he convinced a supplier to give them parts on credit. Jobs didn't build the computer. He built the story. He built the deal. He and Wozniak worked day and night in that garage. Assembling boards. Testing parts. Packing each unit by hand. They named the company Apple. Not because it was technical. But because it was simple. Friendly. Human. And it worked. The Apple I sold. Then they built Apple II, a fully assembled, color-capable personal computer. It was a breakthrough. Schools loved it. Families loved it. By 1980, Apple went public. It was one of the most successful IPOs in history. Steve Jobs, at age 25, was worth over $100 million. But that wasn't what excited him. He wasn't chasing wealth. He was chasing the future. He wanted to create tools that empowered people. He wanted to put technology in the hands of everyone. And he believed in doing it with beauty and simplicity. Apple became known not just for products, but for philosophy. Design mattered. Experience mattered. Every curve, every click, every box it shipped in, it all had to feel right. Because Steve believed. People who are serious about software should make their own hardware. Apple wasn't just a company. It was a revolution. Built by two young men. From a garage. From nothing. And that was just the beginning. Fired from his own company. By the early 1980s, Steve Jobs was a celebrity. He had money. He had power. He had created one of the fastest growing companies in America. But behind the scenes, things weren't smooth. Jobs was brilliant. But he was also demanding. Stubborn. Sometimes harsh. He pushed people hard. He wanted perfection in every pixel, every screw, every word. Not everyone could handle it. When Apple launched the Macintosh in 1984, it was a breakthrough. Beautiful. User-friendly. Visionary. But it was also expensive. And sales were slower than expected. Jobs clashed with the CEO he had helped bring in, John Sculley. They disagreed on the future of Apple. On the Mac. On Steve's role. And then it happened. In 1985, the board of Apple voted to remove him from his own company. Steve Jobs, the founder, was fired. He was 30 years old. Rich. Famous. And suddenly, lost. He later said, "It was devastating. I felt like I had been publicly rejected." For the first time in his life, he had no plan. No team. No next big thing. He wandered. He traveled. He thought. And then something unexpected happened. He realized this. I still loved what I did. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. So he started over. Not with revenge. But with clarity. Being fired from Apple became the best thing that ever happened to him. It freed him to think again. To build again. To become better. Because sometimes, losing everything is what lets you rediscover who you really are. Failure, learning, and the road back. After Apple, Steve Jobs disappeared from the spotlight. But he didn't stop working. In 1985, he started a new company called Next. It was supposed to build the future of computing. He invested tens of millions of his own money. He hired brilliant engineers. He demanded excellence in design, inside and out. The result? A beautiful, powerful, but overpriced machine. Next didn't sell well. The company lost money. It looked like failure. But what Jobs built at Next, the software, the philosophy, the attention to detail, would later become the foundation of Apple's future. At the same time, he made another move. He bought a small animation studio from George Lucas. It was called Pixar. Most people thought it was a toy. Jobs saw something else. He poured money into it. He believed in its artists. He waited 4 years, with no return. Then came Toy Story. It was the world's first fully computer-animated movie. It changed animation forever. And made Pixar a global success. When Pixar went public, Jobs became a billionaire again, but in a completely different industry. More importantly, he had changed. He was still intense. Still demanding. But deeper. Wiser. More aware of people, not just product. And then, something unexpected happened. In 1996, Apple was failing. Its products were scattered. Its identity unclear. The company that Steve Jobs started was losing direction. Apple decided to buy Next, not just for its software, but for Steve. And just like that, he was back. But this time, he wasn't just the founder. He was the one who had failed. Learned. Grown. And now, he had a second chance. The comeback was about to begin. Simplicity, vision, and obsession When Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was broken. Its products were confusing. Its strategy unclear. Its future uncertain. Jobs went to work. He cut product lines. Fired managers. Simplified everything. He believed that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. He didn't ask, what features can we add? He asked, what can we remove? Jobs wasn't trying to make Apple big again. He was trying to make it great again. And it started with design. Not just how it looked, but how it worked. How it felt. How it fit into your life. He said, design is not just what it looks like. Design is how it works. Under his leadership, Apple launched the iMac, bold, colorful, all-in-one. iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. iTunes, a revolution in how we buy music. The iPhone, the most important tech product of its time. The iPad, a new category of personal device. Each product wasn't just innovative. It was intuitive. Jobs obsessed over every detail. He rewrote ad scripts. Refused to ship until the color was right. Demanded silence in meetings if people weren't thinking clearly. People called him difficult. But he believed. Real artists ship. It wasn't about ego. It was about excellence. He wanted to build products that people didn't just use, but loved. And it worked. Apple went from near bankruptcy to the most valuable company in the world. Because one man refused to accept average. He believed in focus. In vision. In saying no. He once said, I'm as proud of the things we haven't done as the things we have. That mindset of clarity, obsession, and courage shaped everything Apple created. It wasn't just technology. It was an extension of Steve Jobs himself. The billionaire who slept on the floor. Steve Jobs became one of the richest men in the world. But he never lived like it. He didn't own a mansion filled with gold. He didn't collect cars or luxury watches. For years, he lived in a nearly empty house. He slept on the floor. He walked barefoot. He ate simple, often vegan meals. He drove the same car for years, without a license plate. Jobs wasn't poor. He was intentional. He believed that clutter in your home, your mind, your product, was the enemy of focus. He once said, I'm convinced that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. And perseverance requires clarity. Steve didn't want distractions. He wanted to build. To think. To make something great. Even when Apple was rising again, he didn't chase status. He chased meaning. He wore the same outfit every day, black turtleneck, jeans, sneakers. Not as a fashion statement, but to remove one more decision from his life. His focus was always on the work. When asked why he never gave up control of Apple's design, he said, because I care. It was never about money. It was about making something that mattered. He once told a story. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, if you live each day as if it were your last, someday you'll most certainly be right. That quote stayed with him. Every day, he asked, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do? If the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew something had to change. Jobs lived as if time was limited. And in the end, it was. But that's what gave his work urgency. That's what gave his life depth. He never stopped being the kid who questioned everything. He never stopped thinking like an underdog. Even at the top, he never stopped acting like he had nothing to lose. How you can think like Jobs and build from zero. Steve Jobs didn't have a perfect childhood. He wasn't the most disciplined student. He didn't finish college. He started from nothing. And yet, he built one of the most valuable companies in the world. So how did he do it? And more importantly, what can you learn from him? Here are the lessons. 1. Stay curious. Jobs never stopped asking questions. He explored calligraphy, philosophy, electronics, design. Even when it didn't seem useful. But years later, all the dots connected. He once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward." So explore. Follow your interests. Trust that they'll matter later. 2. Love what you do. Jobs believed passion fuels persistence. He said, "People with passion can change the world for the better. Building something great is hard. If you don't love it, you'll quit. So find the thing that makes you forget the time. And give it everything." 3. Focus deeply. Jobs was ruthless about focus. He eliminated distractions. Cut product lines. Said no to good ideas so he could say yes to great ones. You don't need more time. You need more focus. 4. Embrace simplicity. Jobs believed simplicity is power. He stripped products down to their essence. Made them beautiful. Intuitive. Human. In life and in work, simplify. Say less. Do less. But do it better. 5. Think different. Jobs wasn't afraid to be misunderstood. To take risks. To challenge what people believed was possible. He said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So don't wait for approval. Start now. Start messy. But start." Final thought. Steve Jobs came from nothing. He got fired. He failed. He started over. And he kept going. Not because he was fearless, but because he believed in what he was building. You don't need to be Steve Jobs. You just need to think like he did. Stay curious. Love the craft. Focus intensely. Simplify everything. And dare to think differently. That's how you start from zero and build something unforgettable. Warren wasn't born rich. When people hear the name Warren Buffett, they think of billions. He's one of the richest people on the planet. A legend in investing. The Oracle of Omaha. But what most people don't realize is, Warren Buffett didn't come from money. He built it one small step at a time. Warren was born in 1930 in Omaha, Nebraska. Middle of America. Middle of the Great Depression. His dad owned a small investment firm. They weren't poor, but they weren't rich either. It was a normal, modest household. But even as a kid, Warren was different. At 6 years old, while most kids were playing tag, Warren started a business. He bought packs of chewing gum and sold them door to door. Then he started selling Coca-Cola bottles, 5 cents each. He was always thinking, how can I make a little more money? By the time he was 11, he made his first stock market investment. He bought 3 shares of City Service at $38 per share. The stock dropped to $27. Warren panicked. But eventually, it rose to $40 and he sold. He made a small profit, but then watched the stock climb all the way to $200. That was his first big lesson. Be patient. Let great investments grow. Why does this matter? Because Warren didn't wait until he was older. He didn't need a degree. He didn't need a lot of money. He just started small. And started early. That's what changed his life. And guess what? You can do the same. It's not about making millions overnight. It's about building habits that compound over time. Warren's journey started with chewing gum and soda bottles. Yours can start today with the next decision you make. Obsessed with numbers. Warren wasn't like the other kids. He didn't care much about sports. He didn't spend hours watching TV. What he loved was numbers. While other 12-year-olds were playing baseball, Warren was reading stock tables in the newspaper. He memorized company names, prices, and how the market moved. He was fascinated by how businesses worked. He wanted to know, how does money grow? Why do some companies win and others lose? At 13, he filed his first tax return and deducted his bike as a business expense. Why? Because he was delivering newspapers on it. Then came the book that changed everything. One day, Warren picked up a book called 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. It sounds old school now. But for Warren, it was life-changing. He realized something powerful. If I can make small amounts of money consistently and reinvest it, I'll never have to work for someone else. From that point on, he was hooked. Here's what Warren did as a teenager. Sold used golf balls. Ran pinball machines in barbershops. Bought farmland and rented it out. Bought a used Rolls-Royce and hired someone to drive it as a limo business. All before he turned 18. He wasn't a genius. He just loved to experiment with money. And more importantly, he loved to learn. What can you take from this? You don't need $1 million to start thinking like an investor. You just need to be curious. Warren's edge wasn't talent. It was obsession plus consistency. He spent his teenage years learning the language of money. And that language, numbers, value, logic, became his biggest advantage later in life. Today, most people scroll social media. Warren scrolled through stock charts and business reports. What are you spending your attention on? Because where your attention goes, your future grows. Early mistakes and big lessons. Warren Buffett didn't get everything right from the start. In fact, some of his earliest decisions were wrong. But that's exactly what made him great. Because Warren didn't just make mistakes. He studied them, learned from them, and never repeated them. Let's go back to his first stock purchase. City Service, 3 shares at $38. The price dropped to $27. He got scared. Then it bounced back to $40 and he sold. Great, right? No. Because a few months later, it climbed to $200. That one decision, to sell too early, stuck with him. He learned. You don't make real money by buying and selling quickly. You make money by buying great companies and letting them grow. Another early lesson, partnerships and people. In his early 20s, Warren started small investing partnerships with friends and family. One time, he trusted someone else's judgment on a stock he didn't fully understand. The result? He lost money and trust. He realized. Never invest in a business you don't understand. Even today? That's one of Buffett's golden rules. He calls it staying within your circle of competence. The big idea here? Warren didn't try to be perfect. He just made each mistake only once. And with every misstep, he asked, what went wrong? What could I have done differently? What can I do better next time? His words. It's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. That mindset made him sharper year after year. What can you learn from this? Don't rush success. Be okay with being wrong, but always ask why. And remember, mistakes are tuition in the school of experience. Warren didn't fear failure. He feared repeating the same failure twice. That's how he became smarter. And richer. Buffett plus Benjamin Graham. In the world of investing, there's one name that Warren Buffett speaks about with deep respect. Benjamin Graham. Ben Graham wasn't just a professor. He was the father of value investing and the man who wrote the book that changed Buffett's life. The Intelligent Investor. What's value investing? It's simple. Buy great companies for less than they're worth. Instead of chasing hype, You look for undervalued assets, strong businesses that are temporarily mispriced. To Graham, the stock market was like a mood swing full of emotion. He taught Buffett, don't follow the crowd. Don't trust headlines. Trust the numbers. Columbia University, a turning point. Warren wanted to study directly under Graham. So he applied to Columbia Business School just to learn from the master. He got in. Sat in Graham's class. Took notes on every word. Warren called it the best education I ever received. Graham became more than a teacher, he became a mentor. Buffett's early job at Graham Newman. After graduation, Buffett begged for a job at Graham's investment firm. At first, Graham said no. But Warren kept writing him letters. Kept showing up. And finally, he got hired. There, he learned to analyze companies deeply. Ignore the noise. Buy with a margin of safety, meaning, never pay full price. It was tough, analytical work. But Warren loved it. One of the most powerful lessons. In the short run, the market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. Benjamin Graham. Translation? People might hype or hate a stock today. But over time, the real value will show. This became Buffett's core belief. He didn't care about today's hype. He cared about long-term truth. What can you take from this? Find mentors even if it means chasing them. Learn timeless principles, not trendy tactics. And always ask, am I buying value or hype? Graham gave Buffett the foundation. Buffett built a fortune on it. How Buffett built his wealth. After working with Benjamin Graham, Warren had a decision to make. Do I stay in New York or build something on my own? He chose to go home to Omaha. Not Wall Street. Not Silicon Valley. Just a small town with big dreams. Buffett Partnership, Limited, the beginning. In 1956, at age 25, Warren started his own investment partnership. He didn't have much money. But he had trust. He convinced family and friends to invest with him a few $1,000s each. Warren put his own savings in too. And he made a simple promise. I won't take big risks. I'll only invest in businesses I understand. And I'll never put your money in something I wouldn't put mine in. That built confidence. And over time, it built wealth. Berkshire Hathaway, from mistake to masterpiece. In 1962, Warren started buying shares of a failing textile company, Berkshire Hathaway. At first, it was a classic Buffett move, buying cheap, struggling companies with hidden value. But he soon realized the business wasn't going anywhere. The industry was dying. It was a mistake. But Warren didn't panic. He thought, what if I use this company as a shell to buy other better businesses? And that's exactly what he did. He transformed Berkshire Hathaway into an investing powerhouse, a holding company that would own stakes in Coca-Cola, American Express, Geico, Apple, Dairy Queen, and dozens more. The secret? Compound interest. Buffett didn't chase quick wins. He chased steady, compounding growth. Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Warren Buffett. What does compounding look like? Age 30, $1 million. Age 50, $300 million. Age 60, $3. 8 billion. Age 90 plus, over $100 billion. He made 99% of his wealth after age 50. Not because he made huge bets, but because he made smart ones consistently for decades. What can you learn from this? Start early, even with small amounts. Stay consistent. Be patient. And always reinvest your profits. You don't need to be rich to get rich. You just need to stick to the plan long enough. Buffett did it from Omaha. You can do it from anywhere. Buffett's rules for smart investing. Warren Buffett doesn't follow the crowd. He follows rules. And they're not complicated. In fact, they're surprisingly simple. But most people ignore them, and that's why most people lose money. Rule number 1: don't lose money. Rule number 1: never lose money. Rule number 2: never forget rule number 1. Buffett is obsessed with avoiding losses. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't chase hype. He looks at every investment and asks, what's the downside? Because if you lose 50%, you need to gain 100% just to get back. Protecting your money is step 1 to growing it. Rule number 2: invest in what you understand. Buffett never invests in trendy things he doesn't get, like crypto or tech startups he can't analyze. He calls it staying within your circle of competence. If you don't understand how a business makes money, don't invest in it. Clarity beats complexity. Rule number 3: be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. And fearful when others are greedy. When the market crashes, Buffett buys. When everyone's celebrating, Buffett gets cautious. This rule made him billions, especially in crises like the 2008 financial crash, the COVID-19 stock dip. Rule number 4: think long term. Buffett once said, if you're not willing to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. He doesn't trade stocks. He owns businesses. And he holds on to great ones for decades. Rule number 5: read a lot. Warren reads 5 to 6 hours a day. Not gossip, but business reports, company filings, and books. Why? Because better decisions come from better information. He once said, read 500 pages like this every day. That's how knowledge works. It builds up, like compound interest. What can you do with these rules? Protect your money. Invest only in what makes sense. Stay calm when the market panics. Play the long game. And keep learning. Every single day. Buffett didn't get rich by being flashy. He got rich by being smart, steady, and simple. And you can too. What makes Buffett different? Warren Buffett isn't flashy. He doesn't drive a Lamborghini. He doesn't live in a giant mansion. In fact, he's lived in the same house in Omaha since 1958. He eats McDonald's for breakfast, drinks Coca-Cola every day, and still uses a flip phone. He's a billionaire, but he lives like a regular guy. Why? Because Warren Buffett doesn't care about appearances. He cares about value. Simplicity is his superpower. While most people chase more, Buffett focuses on what matters. He doesn't waste time on drama. He doesn't try to impress. He focuses on clear thinking, good habits, long-term growth. His daily routine? It's not complicated. He spends most of his day reading. He avoids meetings. He protects his time like a treasure. The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Warren Buffett. He chooses people carefully. Buffett doesn't work with people he doesn't trust. He once said, you can't make a good deal with a bad person. He looks for 3 things in a partner: integrity, intelligence, energy. But, he adds, if they don't have integrity, the other 2 will kill you. His values go beyond money. He plans to give away 99% of his fortune to charity. He's a leader in the giving pledge, encouraging billionaires to give back. Why? Because for Buffett, the real measure of success is how many people love you. Not how much money you have. Not how famous you are. but how well you treat others. What makes Buffett different? He stays humble. He stays curious. He stays true to his principles. And that's a big reason why his wealth stayed. He didn't just get rich. He stayed rich with wisdom, patience, and purpose. How you can start investing smart today. You're not Warren Buffett. But that's okay. You don't need billions. You don't need a finance degree. You don't even need to be great at math. What you need is a long-term mindset, a plan, and the courage to start. Step 1: Start early. Buffett made his first investment at 11. You can start today even if you're 18, 28, or 48. Time is your biggest weapon. Because of compound interest. The earlier you start, the less you need to invest later. Step 2: Spend less, invest more. Don't spend everything you earn. Set aside a small piece every week, every month. Use simple tools. Index funds, ETFs, long-term retirement accounts like Roth IRA, 401k. Buffett recommends low-cost index funds for most people. Why? Because they beat most fancy hedge funds with lower fees. Step 3: Learn the basics. You don't need to become a stock expert. But you should understand how a business makes money. What makes a good company? Why long-term growth beats short-term hype. Start by reading The Intelligent Investor, Ben Graham. Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits, Philip Fisher. Warren Buffett's Annual Shareholder Letters. Step 4: Think like an owner. When you buy a stock, don't think like a trader. Think like you're buying the entire company. Would you want to own it for 10 years? Would you be proud to be a part of it? That's how Buffett invests. Step 5: Be patient. Most people want to get rich fast. Buffett got rich by getting rich slowly. He says, "It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. Let your money grow. Let your knowledge grow. Let your discipline grow." Final challenge. Before this day ends, do one of these. Open a savings or investment account. Read 5 pages of an investing book. Set a budget and commit to saving 10%. Watch one of Buffett's interviews and take notes. You don't have to be great today. But you do have to start. Final words. Warren Buffett wasn't born a genius. He became one through curiosity, action, and time. And so can you. The best investment you can make is in yourself. Warren Buffett. Start now. Start small. And never stop.